College football season is officially here. Had a little bit of an appetizer last weekend, but now locally we get UAlbany, RPI, Union. We get major matchups like number 5 Notre Dame, number 2 Ohio State. Interested to see how good this Utah team is. They get an early SEC test at Florida. Finally, college football season is here. And oh, by the way, the first day of September. And in the Capital Region, it sure feels like fall is not too far off, Ash.
I wasn't ready for it, but now that it's here, you have to be. I'm excited for football season. I always just say I don't love what comes with it, which means cold weather and all the rest of it. But I love college football. If I could, I would sit in front of the TV all day Saturday, which I won't. But yeah.
I will sit in front of the TV all day Saturday and watch football. We've got Jason Fitz from ESPN coming up to talk college football. We've got Jake Fishman, the former Union College standout, now with the Miami Marlins organization, had his first career strikeout just a few days ago. We'll talk with Jake as well. You're watching Onorato Company. Ash, let's get going.
This is Onorato Company, brought to you by Alpen House.
Live from Alpen House in Amsterdam, the pool and ski shop. We've got half pool, half ski going right now. The people at Alpen House know that the seasons change quickly around here. They will be ready for winter when it gets here. But if you're looking or thinking about a pool installation, call them now. They are taking 2023 reservations and they are filling up quickly. People are planning ahead, given the economy and given the fact that everything costs a little bit more these days. Of course, Labor Day is here as well. The weekend sales are on for sure. Come see our people, Andy Heck, Katie Osborne at Alpen House. If you're thinking about a pool, or if you're already thinking about the winter and you want a hot tub and you're going to be a skier, this is the place to be. Jason Fitz
from just like reaffirms my fear of pool to ski. We're just skip the fall at that place. And that's always what I say. I'm like, yeah, but we never get a good fall. Like we never get a week. We never get a month of 70s, a month of 60s. It's just like 80s, and then we fall off the cliff to be like 50s and 40s, it feels like.
Yeah. Jeff Casey's watching. Morning, Jeff. Always good to have you. Carol is here as well. Got to see Carol last weekend at our Horseshoe Traverse Day broadcast up in Saratoga. And Nick, of course, is on board. By the way, quick note on Nick here. I was thinking about him the other day because I saw a national commercial. I couldn't tell you what it was for, but it's a guy in a doctor's office and a kid looks at him funny and he's got his face painted in Bengals colors, and he's even got and he says looks at the kid and he says to the kid, I used the wrong paint, is why he was either at the doctor's office or ER, whichever it is he was at. Sure. So I was thinking about Nick not too long ago when I saw that particular spot. Speaking of, the way we're starting today's show is with our Marcella's Appliance MVP of the month, because what we are witnessing in Queens, Flushing Meadows, whatever you want to call that area of New York, is unbelievable what the 40-year-old Serena Williams is doing. So I've already given it away, but it is just September 1st. We are going to honor August and part of September with this Marcella's MVP of the month.
It's time for the Marcella's Appliance Center MVP of the month.
Ash, it's incredible what Serena Williams is doing at this age of 40 at the U.S. Open, an event she has won 6 times, and that makes her our Marcella's MVP of the month, even though I know we're only into the third round now for Serena, but the fact that she won the first round match, nice. Then she knocks off the second overall seed. this is fun to watch. The crowds have been insanely big
Wild.
and energetic and loving every single point. And Serena looks like she's enjoying herself and the process. She's as intense as ever, and she has turned back the clock, especially with her serve, I think.
Yeah, and listen, I didn't watch too much of Wednesday night's second round match, but I watched the first round match from start to finish, and that was at times brutal. And I think I texted you that. I'm like, this is bad tennis. The first set and change was bad tennis, and her serve saved her there. Wednesday night was different. Wednesday night felt different. We saw a different Serena. She acted like she was enjoying it a little more. But listen, of course she is. She is literally playing for her tennis life. She has announced that she is evolving from tennis. She's retiring at the end of this tournament. She has more to play for now than she ever has. And I just don't think people expected this of her. But then at the end of the day, I always say, well, why not? She's Serena Williams. But the way she did it Wednesday night was what impressed me most. She, like you said, she turned back the clock. She did not look like a 40-year-old. She looked like the Serena that we were used to winning major championships. And now this is all it takes for our minds and for things to switch for us to say, well, she just knocked off the number 2 player in the world. How can you not say she has a legitimate chance? That's how far we go.
Yeah, there's no question now. You cannot just dismiss her. I don't know. She was an underdog on Wednesday night, obviously against the seconds. Will she be an underdog in any other match the rest of the way here? If I'm Vegas, I'm not going to give bettors an opportunity to win money off her as an underdog anymore. Like, I'm going to make her at least even money, if not a favorite, going forward here. To your point, this is a woman who's won 23 Grand Slam titles, an event she's won 6 times. So at this point, I don't think we should be stunned, maybe pleasantly surprised in a way if she's able to really pull this off. But I don't know that you're going to see her as an underdog in any matches going forward.
No, I mean, listen, unless she plays probably like Swiatek at some point, and is she even playing? I was going to say, unless she plays the number 1 overall in the world, yep. I'm not sure that Vegas will ever give you, good odds for her, because she's now proven, all right, I can knock off the number 2 in the world. So what else can I do? But yeah, she looks impressive. And I always think, listen, Serena is always confident to the point of cocky. But when you've won 23 major championships, I think you've earned that. So I believe it was Mary Jo Fernandez on court last night, and they did like another little bit of a ceremony. And I was just listening. I couldn't see it. I was in the car. And she asked Serena, have you surprised even yourself? And you could tell that Serena just kind of laughed, and she must have shaken her head no, because she said to her, she's like, I'm Serena. Like, and that's what I thought, that's exactly it. But that's how she thinks of herself. Like, no, I'm not surprising myself. I'm Serena Williams.
Yeah, I don't think any of that confidence ever leaves one of these great athletes. Like Tiger Woods was in the crowd Wednesday night. I don't think Tiger Woods would ever be surprised that he won a tournament ever in his life. Like, if he wins the Masters at 60, I don't think Tiger Woods would tell you I'm surprised. He might have thought, hey, I didn't know that I'd still be capable of this on some level, but I don't know. That level of confidence never leaves these star athletes. And Serena has credited Tiger with really her returning this year and coming back from, she's had, for career-threatening, life-threatening situations in terms of injuries and health scares. In a way, it's a miracle she's even on center court this week in Flushing Meadows. So it was cool to see. It's been cool to see. Like I said, Tiger, Anna Wintour has been there because, Serena makes the announcement in Vogue that she's evolving, as you said. There have been celebrities upon celebrities upon celebrities at Arthur Ashe Stadium to witness this.
For me, Tiger took the cake. Like when Tiger Woods shows up to watch another person play because he's that interested in seeing another great, that to me was the coolest. Like Bill Clinton was there, Martina Navratilova was there, Gayle King was there. I get it. Rebel Wilson was there, Lindsey Vonn. To me, Tiger Woods tops them all because you have another great in the sport, and he came to watch her. And I always think it says something for me still when a male comes to watch a female and thinks like, yeah, she's great. But like you see Tiger, like he is fist pumping in the crowd. Like he's basically out on the go. This is him doing his classic fist pump, and Serena's kind of returning it. And it was, to me, that was the coolest part of the whole thing, is when Tiger Woods is into it and loving something that someone else is doing. That is awesome.
It's funny. There's part of the conversation has been, she's playing so well. If she were to win the U.S. Open, how does she walk away with 24 and now tied with Margaret Court? How do you now walk away? But I think she does. I hope she does have the conviction to say, you know what, however this ends, it's been a great little run already. If it ends with another trophy, phenomenal.
Right.
But either way, I have proven I can still do this at a high level. Now's the time to walk away. Yeah,
no doubt. Because listen, we've seen what not a high level looks like for her. And the announcers in the booth would all be the first to tell you. I think Chrissy Everett was like, Serena Williams right now looks like a different person than Serena Williams a month ago, 2 weeks ago. So it's clear that she's getting healthy. And that's what I think the struggle is always like. If I'm healthy, can I continue to do this? Her problem has been the injuries have been significant. And like you said, not only like sports injuries, they've been life-threatening. So the fact that she's here at all is unbelievable. She's a 40-year-old playing against 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. Like, that's ridiculous stuff.
All right, I see Jason Fitz is here. Let's get to him. I could run down his resume of what he's currently doing at ESPN. It would eat up the 10 minutes we have with him. So when we come back from this quick commercial break, just 30 seconds, everybody, Jason Fitz from ESPN to preview the college football season. Back on Onorato Company right after this.
At Marcella's Appliance Center, our commitment is to you, providing essential appliances that families depend on for cooking, refrigeration, cleaning, and sanitation, plus appliance repair. You can have peace of mind that Marcella's is here for you today and every day, like we have been since 1957, helping you make the right choice with trusted brands like Whirlpool, Maytag, KitchenAid, and many more. Shop Marcella's Appliance Center in-store, online, or by phone. We're here for you.
And now back to Onorato and Company, brought to you by Alpenhaus.
And I'm live at Alpenhaus in Amsterdam. Pool, spa, ski. Quick transition in the capital region from summer to winter. We love fall. We unfortunately generally skip fall. Jason feels our pain on that, living in the Northeast now as well. And Jason Fitz from ESPN is our guest here on Onorato and Company. Jason, man, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you, dude?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. This is awesome, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast. Let's go.
So I will just share this with our viewers. We first connected on radio a few years ago. You have always been so gracious with your time, a quick responder via text or DM on Twitter. I so appreciate that. And this is how the universe works. It's very strange. We're messaging yesterday about you coming on the show today. And as I'm driving home from work, Ashley and I are both big country music fans who got engaged in Nashville. What comes on the radio? If I Die Young from the band Perry. A song that hasn't been on the radio in forever, and it comes back around incredible.
Well, and look, you know, it's funny. I never got into music because I wanted to be rich or famous, thank God. But I did get into music because I wanted to be a part of something that lasted. And I remember so much for me when I was a kid, like even the first time, because I grew up in the 80s, right? I remember the first time I heard a string section on November Rain on Guns N' Roses. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. I want to do that. And, you know, later in life, I played on a Matchbox 20 Mad Season record that had a bunch of hits. And like, I would drive around and I'd say like, I'm in that orchestra. And like Tim McGraw, if you're reading this, was an ACM performance that they turned into a single from our performance. I was the first violinist on that. And that song was a big hit for people. And so like, for me, it was never about like, oh my God, look at my platform. It was like, there are people that are going to remember certain days and certain weeks, certain years of their lives based on the song they hear. Cause that's what I went through. So to be, you know, a tiny part of lasting memories for a bunch of acts, most notably the band Perry, is always cool. And like, look, I listen to Y2K Country on Sirius XM all the time just because it brings me back to like, oh, we toured with that guy, and I remember this tour, and I remember this guy, and he was a jerk, and he was the nicest. Like, I remember all of that. So, yeah, I love strolling down memory lane, and that's awesome that was on the radio.
Jason, you are, I know there are people who claim to be the most interesting man in the world. I'm going to give that title to you. You are the most interesting man in the world. For me, anyway.
Well, thanks. I've been really fortunate. I've worked my tail off, but I've been really fortunate to have 2 dream jobs, right? Like I went from standing in front of a bunch of people to, play music to now I get to sit in front of a microphone and just talk about sports. Like I've had 2 incredible dream jobs that have always been fan supported. So it's, it's always a humbling thing for me when I look around and say, man, I've never had to, sit there and try and figure out what's next, like in a normal 9-to-5 situation, because people have chosen to support what I do. So I'm really lucky.
You see the record and album covers behind him. You also see the Raiders gear, which we'll get to in a moment here, because I have a bold prediction on your Raiders this season. You're a Grammy winner, but currently you hear him on ESPN radio with Spain and Fitz. You see him on TV with College Football Live, and you are all over the digital space, man, which you've really kind of helped revolutionize the sports media industry in that way. All of that said, all that nice stuff said, let's get into it here. College football is finally here this weekend, and what a way to start. Number 5 Notre Dame, number 2 Ohio State. Maybe the playoff for both of these teams on the line week 1. 17.5 points is one of the last lines I saw. Where does this one fall for you, Jason? Is it that big of a gap between these two?
It is, but there's 2 reasons why. So 17.5 is the biggest deficit we've seen, biggest point spread we've seen for a top 5 team ever. So this is historic. And that speaks a little bit to how good Ohio State's offense is and how early we are in the process for Notre Dame. Like, I think Marcus Freeman is going to build something really special there. The only shot that Notre Dame has is if they can control the football. Everybody keeps saying, can they slow down Ohio State's offense? The answer to that is no, they can't. Ohio State may be like a video game, scoring in 3 plays over and over and over again. So the question is, can they run the football enough to just keep that offense off the field? That's our only hope. And I think that'll work for a half, maybe even for 3 quarters. But at some point when that's your strategy, typically the dam breaks. And I don't think that means that Notre Dame's not very good. I just think this year there are 3 teams that have the opportunity to be truly elite. Alabama, as always, Ohio State, as always, and Georgia, who I don't think is getting enough credit coming off a national championship. So those 3 teams have really separated themselves from the pack. And I think by the end of the year, Notre Dame may still be trying to say, hey, don't worry about that. That was week 1. But they need to keep it close if they want a shot to the playoff, though. If they get absolutely run out of the stadium, they're gonna ruin their playoff chances.
Jason, do you think the huge spread has anything to do with history? So what recent history tells us that Notre Dame can't hang with others in the college football playoff. They just haven't shown that they're at that echelon. Does that spread have to do with that, and less maybe to do with the current talent that we haven't even seen yet?
I think that's a little of it for sure. And what's happened is a lot of us, myself included, are drinking the Marcus Freeman Kool-Aid. Like, he's just the coolest guy. Yeah. So when you hear him talk, you're like, yeah, he's going to figure this out. Like, he always figures this out. Look at him. He's just got that cool factor. When he sits on the couch, I'd run through a wall for him. So I can't imagine being a college kid wanting to play football, right? So I think we bought into the personality of Marcus Freeman as a reason to excuse the past failures for Notre Dame in big games. But yeah, that's a big part of this. I mean, if Marcus Freeman wins this game this weekend, the hype train is going to be absolutely insane, but maybe deservedly so, because Notre Dame's always almost good enough to contend. All he has to do is get that extra 10% out of it.
I read that Alabama is under Saban has never won the national championship as the preseason number 1 team in the country. That blew my mind. If it isn't Bama this year, Jason, who is it?
I think Ohio State.
If you can only pick one, Ohio State. Okay.
But I'll say this. Part of the reason I agree with that assessment, that I don't think it is Alabama this year. Not because Alabama's not great, but because the road to get there for Alabama is just hard. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it. Like, you want to tell me that Texas A&M, every single kid that plays for Texas A&M has been sitting there for a long time saying, like, we're going to get you again, right? Like, it's in everybody's mind. Everybody is gunning for Alabama. And I was stunned. I made a cameo in the Walker Hayes video for Y'all Life, his last single that came out. And while we were there were a couple of Alabama football players that were in the video. And I went up to him while we were just hanging around, and I was like, hey, how long did it take you to get over the national championship loss? And both of them, without hesitation, said minutes. They're like, we're the better team. They just beat us because we were hurt. There's a swagger to Alabama, but what I don't think they understand is that swagger has caused the belly of the beast to be fired on every other SEC team. Like, as great as Alabama is, the path just gets difficult because there are good football teams and rivalries that they'll have to face every week. I could see them tripping up, and just one trip up against a team like A&M could keep them out of the SEC championship, could keep them out of the playoffs.
Oh, well, listen, Nick Saban doesn't help himself by, stoking the fire with comments. We've seen it all off season, but I'm not sure that that's good for a team like Alabama. Like, I know you want everybody's best, but you're going to get everybody's best. You don't need to piss off Jimbo Fisher and Deion Sanders and everybody else on the planet who's going to throw the kitchen sink at you every time they play you.
Yeah, I think he just believes they're so much better than everybody, and he's so much more skilled as a coach. Rightfully so, but at some point, I mean, look at Bill Belichick, who is certainly still having success, but when you are judged by championships and Super Bowls only, success is not enough, right? So at some point, the prickly version of Nick Saban when it comes to other people will come back to haunt you if you ever have 1 or 2 years where you just aren't reloading the same way. So as long as they keep recruiting the way they recruit, I don't think Saban cares, but he should at some point.
We saw Oregon pull off an upset week 1 last year. Can they do it again here as the Ducks go to Georgia? New coach now. You've already said good things about Georgia here. You think they're maybe being overlooked on some level. Is this Bulldogs easy?
I don't think it's Bulldogs easy, but I do think it's Bulldogs. Dan Lanning is the new coach for Oregon, and for anyone that doesn't know, he was the defensive coordinator for Georgia, so he knows his team better than most, right? But my problem here is Bo Nix. And, Bo Nix is the new quarterback for Oregon. He was the quarterback for Auburn. And if you remember, the thing he was most famous for at Auburn was beating Oregon. And so he now goes to Oregon. But Bo's record at home versus on the road is staggering. The number of interceptions he throws on the road is jarring. He's a much different quarterback when he's not at home. And we can call this neutral site all day long, but last time I checked, it's not neutral site, right? So this is a home game for Georgia. I think that's asking a lot of Bo Nix, who's proven at least so far to not play well on the road, not play well on the road against SEC teams. And this is the first time for Dan Lanning. Like, I think Oregon's going to turn out to be pretty good, but I think Oregon right now has so much pressure on them to represent the future of the Pac-12. Lanning has so much pressure on them. They've gone through a coaching change. Georgia's just sitting back there saying, remember January, y'all? Like, we're national champions for a reason. So I think there's going to be a swagger to what the Bulldogs do.
Jason, so much talk has been about, with all the conference realignment, the future of the ACC. Does the ACC even exist in 5 to 10 years? Because they're so top. You have a team like Clemson, and then it's kind of everybody else. Obviously, we saw Pittsburgh kind of shine last year, win an ACC championship. But what are your feelings on conference realignment and how it maybe affects conferences like the ACC or the Pac-10, 12, 8, whoever they are?
Yeah, I mean, however many teams they are, we'll call them whatever. Yeah. I think for the good of college football, the ACC needs to continue to be a huge part of it. And what I would love to see is not an alliance, but an actual alignment of the ACC with either the remaining teams in the Pac-12 or the Big 10 or the Big 12, however they want to do it. There is a spot where we have to remember there's more than just college football on the line. And to me, I look at student athletes, particularly, not even just basketball where the ACC is dominant, but if you look at some of the logistics that are going to be facing some of these kids trying to figure out how to play, in California now that are suddenly playing, if you're a basketball player, I talked to a women's basketball player from USC that went there specifically because she wanted to play West Coast teams. And now she has to figure out, how to get her family to Maryland games when they're playing there. Like, it's a wild world we live in. And I understand the expansion for the purpose of college football because it's so important to so many people. I understand mega conferences, but I really think the playoffs should sit down and say, what are we going to do? Because the minute you tell the ACC that they have a guaranteed bid, I don't love guaranteed bids personally. I think they're going to do it. If they do that, now all of a sudden the ACC says we don't have to merge with anybody because we know that our best still has a shot at the playoffs. So I think the playoff committee could come in with expansion as early as tomorrow and really give conferences an indication you don't have to do this.
Utah's probably the easy answer here as a team that breaks in from the outside. I mean, they're in a Power 5 conference. They're a top 10 team. But Nick wants to know, Jason, is there a chance the Cincinnati Bearcats break through this year?
Nick, that's a great question. And this is the biggest prove it year we've seen for Cincinnati. Like, we know the roster's very good. We know the coach is incredible, right? Mm-hmm. We know that they're building the facilities and they're preparing for a huge move. They don't have a quarterback or a running back that we really know. One is trying to find a way on a roster, and a future, I should say, on the roster in Atlanta. And, Pierce is going to be the starting running back for the Texans. So, like, you can look across the board and say they just lost important elements. They lost a key wide receiver, too. So, they have to rebuild. And this is where big programs constantly get benefit of the doubt, and we don't give that to the Bearcats. I think Cincinnati's in a really interesting situation, especially with the week 1 matchup against Arkansas, who's a good team, but a beatable team. Arkansas at home is a tough game. But if Cincinnati really wants to belong in that conversation, they've got to beat Arkansas. So they'll tell us this weekend if they should be in the playoffs. So one thing I would say is this. I don't believe the committee members, and I've sat through the mock committee a bunch of times, I don't believe committee members have a predisposition to putting certain teams in. But subconscious is subconscious. I do believe that sometimes you look at it when you've seen a team do it before, not do it before, right or wrong, it's in the back of your head. Cincinnati has become a brand now in college football. Mm-hmm. From that, they will have the opportunity. If they continue to beat teams like Arkansas, and they will rise as they go into the Big 12, and they'll get more benefit of the doubt. If they don't, they become essentially a rival of theirs. They become Memphis, a team we talk about every once in a while, but doesn't really rise to the cream. So I think the Bearcats, it's hard for me to make the leap without a quarterback, wide receiver, and running back that we really trust in the room. But I don't think there's an easier team to root for right now than Cincinnati, because that's good for the future of college football.
All right, Ash. Well, I'll jump in here because we've already gone overtime with Jason. So I'll leave you with this, Jay. The last time I made something of a bold prediction in terms of a team winning the division when nobody else really thought would, Sam Darnold got mono. Bad. So I don't want to put that on you and Derek.
Thank you so much for picking the Chargers to win the AFC West. That's so nice of you.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the Raiders at plus 600 in Caesars, and I'm thinking, what am I missing here? They just got the best receiver in football. They've got an offensive-minded head coach now who in his second time around, I think is really going to flourish. They've got a quarterback who gets overlooked annually. I think the Raiders are, at worst, the third best team in this division. I think Denver finishes last, and I think they have great potential to win the thing.
So I think the Chargers are probably the most talented, but I don't trust their coaching staff. Kept them out of the playoff last year. I think that's fair to say. Yes. I think the Raiders end up second in this division behind the Chargers. But to your point, I actually put money on Derek Carr for MVP, not because I think Derek Carr is necessarily going to be the MVP, but if this team wins 11, 12 games, as they're capable of with their offense, he's going to get those votes. And you tell me, I will never forget last year watching a bunch of film with Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky, and they were breaking down the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. And if you watch the defense, RC kept pausing right before the snap, and he'd say, watch everybody cheat to where Tyreek's going to go, and that creates the opening for Kelsey. When you have a guy like Tyreek, it makes Kelsey open. That's why I think the Chiefs take a step back this year. They don't have that guy. But that's also why I think the Raiders take a huge leap forward. I mean, Derek Carr threw for 4,800 yards last year without a true number one wide receiver. Yeah. So you tell me that the defense is going to have to cheat to cover Devontae Adams. Darren Waller is going to put up epic numbers. And by the way, Hunter Renfrow just got paid great money to be a slot receiver. Yes, they have offensive line issues, and you got to see if the defense will be okay. But I also believe that when you have a great play caller, you can get around some of that. I think the Raiders are going to be a top 3 offense in the NFL, which will automatically make Derek Carr a contender for MVP. And it'll put them in a situation where they're in the conversation. They're a playoff team, and this year in the AFC, if you're in the playoff team, you've got a legit shot at the Super Bowl. I don't care who wins divisions. You get in the dance, you're going to have an opportunity to go all the way.
Listen, man, we so appreciate. Yeah, it is. It sure is.
The pillow behind me totally agrees with you, as do the jerseys over there and the helmet over there. Yes, all of it agrees with you.
Yeah.
Listen, man, we so appreciate the time going overtime with you here. By Hoop Streams, too. Check Jason out on the ESPN social platform with the WNBA playoffs now. At the semifinal stage, he is everywhere on ESPN. Impossible to miss. You've seen simple and on Twitter at Jason Fitz. Check him out there. Jason, man, thank you so much, dude.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Anytime. Have a great week.
Thanks, Jay.
Great talking with him. College football, NFL, and he's been good over the years for sure. As I said, with radio, and now with this show as well. It was good.
Beautiful.
So you've kind of said like this guy has done everything.
All of it.
He won a Grammy. I didn't realize how many, kind of orchestra ensembles he's been part of in terms of country music records. The band Perry is the one where his name is always attached. But he's talking about playing for some of the biggest musicians all time. Crazy.
I know. I wanted to ask him, like, how much do you fiddle? Like on an average week, how often are you just like fiddling it up?
Yeah. So the Yard Goats recently had him out to play the national anthem on the fiddle. I saw. He did something for the Raiders. He played The Autumn Wind as a pirate on the fiddle. Cool. So I don't know that he's picking it up every day, but he's not fully out of practice because he can just kind of do those things on request.
At that level of musical talent, you're not forgetting how to do it.
Yeah, I would say that's more than fair to say. The Popeyes Louisiana Fast Minute still to come here on Onorato and Company. Performance Industrials, Dirty, Difficult, Done as well. We'll get to that next here as I'm joining you live from Alpenhaus in Amsterdam. Chris Onorato and Ashley Miller back right after this.
Teams, athletes, organizations. We're transforming the custom apparel industry through product and purpose. Claim your crown.
Fire, water, smoke, mold, and sewage cleanup. Reconstructing your home after a disaster can be both stressful and demanding. KPM Restoration will work quickly to restore your home. We'll help provide complete damage restoration to your property.
My problem was that I was traveling. There was a leak in my basement. We called KPM. They came in at 9 o'clock at night and were there till 2 o'clock in the morning until the problem was solved.
KPM Restoration. We'll get you back to normal.
And now back to Onorato and Company. Brought to you by Alpenhaus.
Live from Alpenhaus in Amsterdam, the pool, ski, spa shop here. So if you're thinking about a pool, call now. They're taking reservations for 2023. They go quickly. If you're already thinking winter and you want a hot tub to stay warm, they've got them here. Or if you like the slopes, obviously this is where they have everything ski related at Alpenhaus, where we are live each and every single month here with Onorato and Company. Ash, I just saw Jake Fishman pop in.
He's here.
So before we get to the Popeyes Louisiana Fast Minute and the Performance Industrial Dirty, Difficult, Done, let's bring in that former Union Star pitcher Jake Fishman, who only a couple of days ago now got his first Major League Baseball strikeout. It was a nasty side-winding off-speed pitch in a tough spot, men on the corners, and only one out. It's a big, big strikeout to get in a situation like that. Jake Fishman is with us here on Onorato and Company. Jake, man, it's Chris Onorato and Ashley Miller with the NBC in Albany, buddy. Thank you for doing this. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me on.
Congrats on the success. This is baseball is a headache. Not that I need to tell you, because it becomes a numbers game this time of year, especially in terms of whether or not you have minor league options or not. And so as you bounce back and forth a little bit with the big league club, does any of this become frustrating for you all the time you've put into the minor leagues? Or have you had that taste of success now where you're like, I just simply cannot let this go?
I mean, I think anybody would be frustrated getting sent down after making it to the big leagues. You have that dream as a kid, and you envision that moment your whole life where you get called up and then it's over in 3 days and you're like, that's not exactly what I was expecting. But obviously super grateful for the opportunities. Any big league time that you can get is amazing to spend up there. So while it is frustrating, it's still an amazing experience.
Jake, you've had 2 appearances now. Can you take us back to that July 31st outing against the Mets? That's the first time you walk on the field as a major leaguer. It was a long relief outing. They needed you for a lot. 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned, no walks. What is that moment like for you? And even if you want to talk about the call, because that's what people like to kind of reminisce about, is that phone call, or when you get brought into the manager's room and they say, you're going up. What is that like?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different these days. There isn't really any, like true call-ups because they have this taxi squad now. So I was in AAA, and the manager called me into the office with another teammate of mine, and he said, "Hey, you guys are going to Miami to go on the taxi squad. We aren't exactly sure if you're going to be activated, but you guys have been doing great, and we hope the best for you." So we ended up going to Miami the next morning. And as soon as I got to the field, I went and spoke to Don Mattingly, and he said, "Hey, Fish, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen yet. We're waiting for a couple transactions to go through, and then I'll let you know before the game." And, probably about an hour or two before the game, he called me into his office and shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, we're going to activate you for tonight's game." And that was on Friday. And naturally, you go full panic mode at that point. But didn't end up pitching that night. And then, eventually Sunday, Pablo got into some trouble early, and they called down, told me to get going. And I didn't throw a single strike in the bullpen. Everything was about 6 feet past the catcher. But, eventually when I got out to the mound, took a deep breath. My warm-ups out there were okay. And it really wasn't until I threw my first strike to Francisco Lindor. It was the first pitch. And then I said to myself, like, all right, I think we're going to be okay. And then, he ended up grounding out to third base. And that was when I was really like, okay, if Lindor is going to ground out to third, I think we can make it through this.
Yeah, I mean, you don't ease into it. A Mets team that's obviously terrific this year. A guy like Francisco Lindor, who, in Cleveland was always an MVP candidate. Explain to us the difference between pitching at the AAA level, where you're trying to make it, and then you've made it. Are you fully embracing the opportunity? What are the nerves like, especially when it's a guy like Lindor? What is going through you in that moment? Do you have time to process kind of everything that's on the line and what you're experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of nerves out there, especially that first time. The second outing was a lot less nervous, but you still have this crazy heightened energy out there. And, to me, the difference is you have to make good pitches, and you have to keep making good pitches. In AAA, you can get away with some, a lot of pitches. But in the big leagues, they're just so good at punishing those mistakes, especially late in the count. So, they'll give you strike one, strike two, but then you better make a pretty good pitch after that, or else they're going to demolish that thing.
Jake, here locally, people would maybe know you from your days at Union College. And listen, this is rare. We saw a guy like Chris went to Ithaca, so he's a big Tim LeCastro guy. We've seen a guy like Tim LeCastro make it from Ithaca to the bigs, but this doesn't happen every day. Have you kind of been able to wrap your head around how unique your situation is, and maybe just kind of people look at you differently because you're a guy who went from D3 to the show? That's something that doesn't happen every day.
I've been trying to wrap my head around it for sure. You look at the people prior to me from Union College that have played in the major leagues, and it's people from over 100 years ago. So it's hard to fathom, to be honest. And you look at how many Division III guys make it to the major leagues, and it's just so small. It's really difficult to put into words, really. But I hope it shows that regardless of where you go to school, you can do big things, and you'll get noticed if you got the stuff and you just keep pitching well.
I'll make the obvious observation here that everybody else has already made. You obviously have the perfect name for somebody on the Marlins. This thing is destined to work out long term. Last thing from me, Jake, is as rosters expand, we don't have that huge call up we used to have in Major League Baseball, but as they expand slightly in the month of September, what do you hear? Is there any kind of like, hey, heads up that you will be back with the big league club before the season's over, or do you just continue to perform at the level you can, hoping that you get the chance again this year?
100%. So I have to go through the waiver process because I got designated for assignment yesterday again. So with that roster expansion, definitely something you never know what could happen. Another team could claim me off waivers. But regardless of that, you just got to keep going where your feet are. And my teammate Ryan Lavarnway, who's been around for so long, talks about that a lot. And just you can't focus on the things around you. You can't be thinking about the future and trying to be in the big leagues. You just have to be where your feet are so you can perform in that moment.
Well, Jake, I've been in constant contact with, I would say, your biggest fan. I'm sure your parents are your biggest fans, but Coach Mound is one of your biggest fans. He has been messaging me on Instagram every time something happens with you. He connected us, obviously. What is the support like from him in particular, but also just from kind of, have you heard from teammates, classmates at Union? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, so Coach Mound's been amazing. He's been so supportive ever since I was at Union and beyond. He helped me a lot in my career, got me in the right summer ball programs. He was always reaching out to people for me. And even still to this day, he's a big supporter for me. And everybody from the Union community has reached out, and it's been amazing, definitely.
All right, Jake. Yeah, he's a great guy. Absolute great guy. Good luck to you, man. We appreciate you taking the time here. Success is definitely around the corner. You've proven it at the big league level that you can do it. So we're looking for big things in the future from you, man. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jake.
Great to have Jake Fishman with us here on Onorato and Company. And it's just the numbers game makes you crazy this time of year in Major League Baseball, especially. All right, let's take a quick time out here on Onorato and Company. When we come back, that Popeyes Louisiana Fast Minute and the Performance Industrial Dirty Difficult Done. Back right after this.
Alpenhaus RV is celebrating 58 years of family fun and camping during our anniversary sale. Shop big anniversary savings on an even bigger selection of RVs. Choose from new 2022 Avenger travel trailers for $194 a month and new 2022 Colorado travel trailers for $228 a month. Plus, all 2020 and newer RVs come with our exclusive lifetime warranty. Proudly serving you since 1964 and generations to come. Don't miss our 58th anniversary sale at Alpenhaus RV.
You've heard of unsung heroes. The men and women of Naiskoba are the unseen heroes. For the past year, you've learned about our many charitable endeavors. Now it is my privilege to share with you the work performed by our members, the 20,000 state correction and law enforcement officers shielded from view. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions and are an extension of the police who protect our neighborhoods. Naiskoba honors New York's police and firefighters and salutes its own members who help deliver a peaceful night's sleep.
And now back to Onorato and Company, brought to you by Alpenhaus.
Live from Alpenhaus in Amsterdam, the pool, spa, and ski store right off Route 30. Chris Onorato and Ashley Miller on Onorato and Company. Jason Fitz and Jake Fishman have already joined the program. We've got some special segments we do each and every single week here on Onorato and Company. Ash, let's dive into that Popeyes Louisiana Fast Minute here first. And that is first. We should really probably put a little bit on the Saratoga meet. It's over, but it certainly is darn close to over at this point. We see Epicenter, though, get it done. A horse that didn't have grade 1 victory. He needed that feather in his cap, if you will, try to cap off a 3-year-old champion of the year season and the one that.
All right, we're losing you a little bit. I'm not sure if everybody else is seeing what I'm seeing, but we're having a hard time. Yeah, listen, this was record attendance. This is the most well-attended Travers Stakes since American Pharoah was here and got beat in the Travers. They had a record handle, $55.5 million. So all sources handle, most money spent. It was a record in every basic way, and you could tell this was the Travers busting at the seams, the Saratoga meet in general busting at the seams. I know we're in the last week now, and there's still racing to be had. But once the Travers is over, that's kind of where you judge the first 5 weeks of the meet. And it was, I would say, a smashing success. I don't know what you could call it other than that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't even know that you still got me here live from Amsterdam at Alpen House is my computer.
All right, we're going to do a little restart. Chris is going to join us hopefully in a few minutes. We will get to, that was our Popeyes Louisiana Fast Minute. We are going to get to a little bit of Baker Mayfield, who I want to take some credit here because I had a prediction at the beginning of this season when Baker Mayfield went to the Panthers. I said, hey there. Hi there. Well, he's sort of back. We're not sure if he's back. Chris, I'm taking credit for my prediction that when Baker Mayfield went to the Panthers, I said he would be the starting quarterback. He is indeed the starting quarterback for various reasons, but I'm not sure if we can roll some video, if we can get into a little dirty, difficult done. If Chris has the ability, I could roll it, I guess, right? Let's do it here. Yeah, Chris is having some problems. All right. We'll do my dirty, difficult done. I got into it, sort of. So now I'm really going to do my dirty, difficult done.
Locked up.
Oh, you're locked up. I know.
I've been on.
All right, he's locked up. We're doing dirty, difficult done. Performance Industrial, dirty, difficult done. Thank you very much to Performance Industrial, obviously, for being our sponsor. But Baker Mayfield, okay, so he wins the job in Carolina. Not hard to do. Sam Darnold is the backup quarterback. Well, now Sam Darnold is hurt for at least 4 to 6 weeks is what's happening here. All right, Baker Mayfield's your guy. Now we're railing on Baker Mayfield because a report.
I don't care what kind of stories that's been told on you. That may be a lot of things in life you used to do. If you can't give true love to me, I'll understand. Just do the best you can.
Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs and 95 calories.
And now back to Onorato Company, brought to you by Alpen House.
I mean, we've got all kinds of problems happening here. I am not sure what is going on. The beauty of live television, folks. You want to insert yourself back in here? Can I get you in here? No. Can't get him in here. Chris has got some issues. So I'm going to take myself full. There we go. I don't know. Do we go back to my dirty, difficult done? I guess we should go back to my dirty, difficult done because I was in that and then we rolled a commercial. I'm not even sure how that happened. Dirty, difficult done. Baker Mayfield. Again, this is a guy who I had predicted, thank you to myself, was going to be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. He is now the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold is out injured for a significant enough amount of time. I don't think Baker Mayfield gets enough credit in this situation for what he does. He had a couple of great seasons in Cleveland. He was a fan favorite in Cleveland. He had some injuries that I think were what mainly affected his performance in that final season in Cleveland and all of a sudden sent him out of favor somehow in Cleveland. He became this pariah and someone they just crucified because he tried to play through injuries. This is a guy who threw for more than 3,000 yards last season, 215 yards a game, 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I get it. Those numbers are not great. The numbers aren't great, but they're not the worst in the league. We don't talk about the fact that he got sacked 43 times. 43 times in the 14 games that he played. That's a lot. In fact, it is only fewer. He has only sacked fewer times than Joe Burrow, who we know led the league in sacks with 51. That guy was chased all over the field. He was sacked fewer times than Ryan Tannehill and Zach Wilson. So Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, the only guys who were sacked more than Baker Mayfield. I'm being told. All right, Chris trying to get back in? I'm not sure if he can get back in or not. I'm going to put myself solo up here again. Chris, do whatever you need to do back there. Make any changes you want. Oh, goodness gracious me. Yeah, so he was sacked fewer times only than 3 other guys. Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, and Zach Wilson. Sacked 43 times. This is not all on Baker Mayfield. But I think he's going to prove that he is a legitimate starting quarterback. I think he's going to return to the Baker Mayfield of old, and he's not going to be the guy that we saw in Cleveland because, oh, by the way, that guy was hurt in Cleveland. It wasn't, I don't want to blame this all on Baker Mayfield. He was in a terrible situation. We have seen what's happened since. They're on the Deshaun Watson train, which is a total disaster. Jacoby Brissett is likely to be their starting quarterback while he sits out, while Deshaun Watson sits out, for all the stuff he has going on off the field. So yeah, Baker Mayfield's going to be the guy. That is my dirty difficult done. I guess I should have put this up. My dirty difficult done by Performance Industrial. Baker Mayfield wins the job in Carolina, and he's just done with the Browns talk. And I can't really blame him. There was a reporter who asked him a question about the Browns and basically fed him answers to it. And he repeated it, and then someone said, oh, well, that was what Baker Mayfield said. They said, I want to F up the Browns. Well, he didn't say that. The reporter said that. But can you blame him? Of course, he wants to mess up the Browns. That's what a winner should want to do, beat their old team as quickly as possible. All right, I think we're going to sign off here because I'm not sure what else we have going. Chris is trying real hard, but we're having some internet issues out at Alpenhaus. Our thanks to Chris for trying to run the show virtually. But we will come next week. We will be back next week. We will re-air. Also, if you're watching us live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, we'll be back Saturday on My 4. And we will be back next week for another edition of Onorato and Company. Thank you guys very much for watching. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We'll see you next week.